Daner, Mark Shalafoo, from listener questions to some running gags. Insider stories, ambush light, that dad life and respect for flags. Kick off the weekend, alright? It's the Growler Friday Show, it's Who Dey Light.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Who Dey Light. Paul Daner Jr., Mark Shalafoo here with you on a Friday. Happy Friday to you, Mark. What's going on?
Not a whole lot. I'm excited. Another good Friday. What flag are you flying today?
Today, I have the city of Cincinnati flag, just trying to just huddle around all of us as a city right now. That's what it's all about. Everybody's in this thing together. Got the Cincinnati flag going. Next week will be a big one. Birthday flag is gonna make its way up right into the turkey Thanksgiving flag. So it's an active year. There's time of year right now.
A lot of motion going on. All right.
A lot of motion, but right now still hanging on to the city of Cincinnati for right now before we go fully into the next wave. And then obviously Christmas right around the corner. So a lot of things are happening.
I like the city of Cincinnati flag. It's a great unity message after a politically divisive time. You're trying to bring everybody back together. And,
that's me.
I support that. Yeah. Good work.
That's me. Yeah, that's right. Put your arm around your brother and your sister. Let's go. All right, we got a big show for you. We got a bunch of stuff we're going to get to. You guys we missed last week, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
The schedule being wonky for me and for you. There was no way to do a Who Dey Light on Friday after the Bengals Ravens game. But guess what? You guys sent lots of very angry emails, and we certainly appreciate that. So there are so many of you. We tried. We're trying to keep it. This is really a time where people look to us, Mark. People look to this show. Help keep this lighthearted. Help keep this place from getting too dark and awful and unenjoyable. And that's where we feel like we can step in and help you out and give you a hug in the darkness.
That's why I love doing this show at the end of the week too, because I'm at that point where I've already let the anger go. I've let the frustration go from that specific game, and it's still there a little bit, but by the end of the week, you kind of twist yourself around. You're like, you know what? We can make this happen. If there's a big win this weekend, then this happens and this team loses. And now we're right back where we need to be. Everything's in front of us. And you got that optimism, at least for another week. That's what I'm holding on to at least.
Yeah, I do love the process of this where it's just everything is truly awful. And then here's the reasons why it's awful. And then it's like, You get player says this is a must-win game, have to win, and if we don't, it's all screwed up. And then by the end, you're like, you know what? Things are okay. They're not so bad. Then they lose again. Cycle repeats, and be like, last week wasn't really a must-win game. Like this one really is the one they have to have. It's just over and over and over again. We go through the cycle. Although this one might actually be the end, so we have to make sure we're clear about that.
Yeah, Bengals games are starting to feel like presidential elections where everyone is the most important of our lifetime. It just gets hyped and hyped and hyped. But you're right. This one might be the really, truly must-win game. So, we're going to have a little bit harder time keeping it light if they do lose this one. But for now, we can still be light and still be optimistic and still have some fun.
We can do it, I believe, in us. But we will plenty to get to here. Lots of your questions. I will rank some of Mark's tweets. We will have our favorite stories of the week, ambush light, dad life, all the things that you're used to us getting to here. I do want to remind everybody, our next live show is a little bit different. I'm really excited about this one. We've brought in the My Favorite Game series where we have people come in and talk about their favorite game, and we talk about the legacy, the minutia of it, what made it great, what made it awful, who the winners and losers are. We've done these over the years. You guys have always really liked them. I've really loved doing them. We're doing kind of a different one this time, though. Todd Frazier is going to be our guest down at BetMGM Nation Kitchen and Bar at the Banks, and we are going to, we're going to rewatch, and then we're going to have a panel discussion about the 2015 Home Run Derby with myself, Todd Frazier, C. Trent Rosecrans of The Athletic, and Jim Day from the Reds broadcast. All of us kind of just talking through that night. So we're going to replay it from 5 to 7 there. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll hit the stage and talk with Todd about all of that. He'll be there for meet and greet. It's going to be a great time. All of our normal stuff going on there. You can pick up merch, $3 Cincy Lights. You know the deal. If you want to reserve a table, go to nationkitchenandbar.com and reserve a table for that or any big event that they have down there. But looking forward to that. That'll be on Thursday, 21st. Panel starts at 7:00 with Todd.
We got to make sure that the people that reserve tables for the show get the close tables. We had that one right before the game, the Eagles game, and we had a table that was like right up in front of the broadcast location, and they were the only ones in the entire room that did not know a podcast was happening. We're playing the cornhole game right next to them. We're giving away T-shirts and ice cream. They're like, what is all of this? Who is this large man talking to these other two guys? I don't understand it. So we're going to get the Growl Pals closer next time.
We will do it. So that is coming our way. And of course, speaking of Growl Pals, you can always go to cincyshirts.com. Get some Growl Pal merch. I've got Growl Pal merch. We'll have plenty of those down there. Or any Cincy shirt that you want to buy at purchase, put in Growler Pod as the promo code and get 10% off everything. All right, Mark, what is your favorite Bengals story of the week this week?
Well, I mean, it was nice to see Joe Burrow dropping an F-bomb in his press conference and actually seeming a little bit like he was having a little bit more fun, which you haven't seen a ton of from Joe Burrow this season. But kind of leading off of that, we had this email from Matthew, which I kind of resonated with, right? This is what I'm holding on to this week. He said, it's been a loose operation around the pod and pressers lately. First, Paul says bullshit on the show. Mo drops a hard F-bomb, and now Joe Burrow follows suit in a press conference. We've got Jay saying things like we need more dicks in the locker room. And the other day, he had another one about, it sounded a little bit of an innuendo. He's thinking about instituting a growler swear jar where the end of the season proceeds go to a charity, or maybe a segment called Things Jay Says That Sound Dirty That Actually Aren't. I think I would enjoy that segment. But yeah, I feel like I'm the only one of all of us that hasn't dropped an F-bomb or an expletive or any of that. And, it just seems to be the trend that we're moving in. So I'm going to save mine. I'm going to be very strategic with it. I've been holding on to it. I mentioned the little ray of optimism I find at the end of every week. This is a must-win game, so I'm going to save it. I'm going to save my expletive for next week or whenever I need to break the glass in case of expletive emergency. I'm holding on to mine.
Yes, and that's good. I mean, for the most effect, I appreciate that, and that's how you really land a good punch. Though what's funny to me, as what Joe Burrow did, I guess he felt like this was the moment. Like that's when you know that potentially that they're in a bad spot right now. Where Burrow's like, I think I have to break the F-bomb case. I think
do you think he went into that like thinking like I'm going to drop it, or it was just totally off the cuff?
Well, you know what? I think it was off the cuff, but I think he was trying. Like he was really trying to be funny. It was like it was Joe Burrow light episode. I mean, he was like joking with us, being silly, which is not something that Joe does in season. So it was kind of an odd dynamic, and that was part of what came out of it. So I don't really know how to explain it other than when you're really big time. When you curse into a microphone and it is like nationally viral within an hour. I mean, I came back to after that, went into the locker room, did the normal locker room stuff, came inside and sat down on my computer, and all of a sudden there it is, like NFL has tweeted that Joe Burrow cursed. It's like, wow. That's when you are absolutely big time.
Yeah, and it seems like a little bit of a misnomer, some of the coverage of it, because it was like Joe Burrow drops an F-bomb. Everyone's thinking, oh, he must be furious. He's pissed off at the defense or the way the season's gone because it's not where he thought it would be. But no, it's just laid back Joe having some fun, talking about his receiver. And that made it a little bit easier to take. That's way like he could have dropped F-bombs at a lot of points this season that would have been deserved when they came out, whether they were directed at certain players or officials or other teams. He's taken so many late hits. But the fact that he used it in a playful way, that makes it a fun F-bomb. And that's what we're about on shows like Dey Light, the fun F-bombs.
That's right. Fun F-bombs when properly used. And, we'll keep giving you no warning, though. Sometimes they just show up. Sometimes
how should I read into this, though? Like, so angry Joe Burrow after he throws 5 touchdowns and he's still locked in, still playing great, even though he's angry, and he's telling everyone to get their bodies right and doing that sort of stuff and not having fun after the win. How do you take like laid back, trying to make everybody laugh, Joe Burrow? Is this just a different energy? Is just him trying out a different persona?
Maybe it's, to me, maybe it's he's trying to set a tone that everybody's a little too tight. Like maybe he squeezed it a little too tight the previous week, and just trying to keep it light and people not to go into the depressing hole of the fact that if they lose this weekend, their pro season should be canceled, according to Mike Hilton. I mean, that is something that maybe that's what the tone he's trying to set, is that, look, everybody, let's not, just because at the end of the world is near doesn't mean that we should be thinking about that. I'm going to go curse into a microphone real quick to lighten the mood.
What was your favorite story of the week?
I really enjoy hey, the Bengals are going out early. They're going to do some team bonding, right? It is almost Thanksgiving. It is week 11. Okay. The time for bonding has coming up. Like, I appreciate it. Like, it's great. Oh, what are you going to do? Everybody has to talk about how they're going to go bond. Like, grown men talking about how they're going to go bond together. Oh, we'll sneak in a lunch here and there, or we'll do some talking. I like to talk in the lobby with people, or dinners. Well, how many people will go to your dinner? Will it be group dinners? Who will be invited? You know what happens at workplaces where things have been going wrong, and all of a sudden you give people a retreat and a bunch of downtime together? A lot of complaining. Yeah. Happens. That's not team bonding. That's team complaining time. Okay. Team bonding needs to happen before everything's gone wrong and people start getting mad because Joan isn't filing her paperwork correctly. Right. This needs to be a time where everybody's happy and can get to know each other a little bit better. You don't go in the darkest moments of the season and say, hey, let's go off and just hang out and just see where our conversations go. All right.
Yeah.
Because it goes to bad places and it goes to a lot of people complaining. So I would say team bonding, I wonder about what direction it ends up going.
But it does also, like, you mentioned corporate bonding and stuff. Nobody has fun on those. You're right about that. Like, if you've ever worked a normal office job and the boss is like, okay, we're going to go on a scavenger hunt today. You're like, oh, this is worse somehow than even sitting in a cubicle for 8 hours. This sucks.
We see the Bengals like in some Santa Monica ropes course on the beach doing trust falls. Like I
getting in some laser tag. I don't know. The whole thing feels to me like it was probably something that they had planned before the season where they expected to be much better record-wise, right? And this is a little bit more of a reward. Like, all right, we get an extra day in LA, catch our breath a little bit because we're having a great season. Let's gear up for the final run to the playoffs and playing for home field advantage and all that kind of stuff. And it hasn't quite worked its way out. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more complaining on this team bonding. You're probably right on that.
Yeah. And maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be great. Hey, a day in LA, an extra day in LA does sound like a good time. Spend some time at the beach, go to the hotel, clear your mind a little bit. Sounded like a great idea. The best laid plans in the summer don't always feel so great when you actually get to where they're at right now. But maybe this is it. Maybe one ropes course is going to be what ends up being the lead of the story of how their season turned around and made their Super Bowl.
Yeah, the ropes course that saved the season. I just hope that there's somebody out there with Jermaine Burton who's like helping him show up to things on time, because that time change is going to be tricky. The extra day of team bonding, like there's a lot of variables now in place. I hope somebody is stepping up and putting that guy in the right place at the right time.
I had to remind or ask Jamar if he knew the time of the game this weekend, because then he said, well, isn't it? It's a night game now. I said, well, yeah, but it's 5:20. Kickoff Pacific time, and you could see him be like rolling his eyes like, oh my God. He's like, I think they're going to make sure that they're just going to push him in the right direction. Like, just tell him when to get onto the bus and get there, because he was not feeling that. He was not feeling that 5:20 kickoff time as one that he had on his radar. All right, let's get to let's rank your tweets. Can I rank your tweets?
Oh yeah, sure. I tried to. Let me just say this before you get into them. I was on stage on Thursday, so I missed the first half. And I got off stage, got to a local Applebee's, ready to watch the game. Realized after I had ordered that it was on Amazon and they wouldn't have it on at the bar, so I had to watch it on my phone. And I told myself I'm not going to tweet anything. I'm just going to watch this. And then when it started going south, that's when I got a little bit angrier, and that's when I use my expletives. Is when it goes south on Twitter.
Well, I like there's a few of these, and I will count them down. Let's see. The first one here, Positions we are set at for next season: quarterback, wide receiver 1, left tackle, right tackle, defensive end, punter. Biggest needs: 2 guards. The rest of the defense, general manager, time machine, new ownership, a handwritten apology to Joe Burrow. That I'm with you on that one. I do feel like at some point someone needs to pen a letter and just say, sorry, Joe, and just kind of explain yourself.
We were supposed to be going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. So use that time machine, go back, win the New England game, win one of these Baltimore games, beat the Chiefs, and then get some use out of this time machine.
How would you utilize the time machine? I think you'd utilize the time machine. Do you go back to the practice before the New England game and tell T. Higgins to just sit it out so he doesn't hurt his hamstring? And so then maybe you can beat both New England and Kansas City. Is that the move? I'm trying to think what the time machine move would be, the specific one that you would want to do to right the wrongs of this season. Do you just go back and like magically sneak a contract that Jamar would sign in front of him in like July somewhere? Is there a way to do that? I'm not sure exactly. It's got to be trying to save the T injury. I feel like is the time machine spot you would use.
Yeah, if you have one move, it's got to be that. But if you couldn't do injuries, if you took injuries off the table, then yeah, getting the Jamar thing settled and having him have a proper training camp and have him ready to go week 1 would have been a huge benefit. We've seen what Jamar can do even without T. Higgins on the field. He's playing like the best receiver in football right now. And you didn't get that week 1 from him. And with that Jamar that we were seeing right now against the Patriots, there's no way they're losing that. I don't care how many touchdowns Mike Gesicki drops. They're still going to win that game.
Or you go back to the prep for that New England game and you just have a specific session in the meeting where you say, all right, all tight ends here. Here's what we're not going to do when we go to the end zone. We're not going to go wee and put our arms into the air. Okay. Yeah. We're all just going to make sure this week, really specifically this week, we are going to really dive through the end zone. No wheeze. We're not going to wee this week, and just see if that has the effect that you wanted it to on Tanner Hudson.
Yeah, and if we're talking time machine, just go back and change one play in that Super Bowl, and that's going to change the vibes for the next few years. Or, I'm sure there's more than a few draft picks you'd want that time machine for too, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, going back to SoFi this week, first time back at SoFi since the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow was asked about that this week. If you remember anything about that day, and he just said that day sucked, and I was like, I feel like that's kind of where Bengals fans land on where they're at with it now. They don't want to go into it. They don't want to go into deep analysis. They don't want to relitigate the penalty. It's just that sucked.
There's probably only one Bengal that does want to relive that day, and that's Evan McPherson, because he saw a great halftime show.
Great show.
He loved it. He probably can't wait to get back.
All right, another tweet. This team needs another playmaker besides Chase. Not looking forward to seeing T. Higgins on another team's sideline watching in street clothes. Well done. Nice turn.
It's sort of a dark jab at T, but come on, T. He better play this week. He's got to play this week. The season's on the line. I can't have this.
As we speak right now, Friday morning, things are looking good. But again, we have seen those tend to change late in the weeks this year. So I feel very hesitant to ever say anything in guarantees when it comes to T. Higgins on a Friday. All right, last one. Chase Brown's fumble changed everything. Banish him to the Burton slot machine. I love this idea as being Bengals timeout.
Yes.
This is it. Like, you have to go spend 3 hours at the Burton slot machine and go play the sad penny slots.
Yeah,
that's what we do with people that fumble or drop passes or, don't hustle to try to get people out of bounds or get stiff armed into oblivion. Like, that's what you do with them. And then you just have like the whole team sitting in front of a bunch of penny slots.
Yeah, that's the problem. We would run out of slot machines maybe, but I do like the idea of that. Whoever had the biggest mistake, you have to go put in a couple hours. Fans can take their funny little pictures of you looking sad in front of the slot machine. And then you get to slowly just see little things click around while you lose your money and then get your mind right. You get to think about what went wrong and then really get straightened for the next week.
Yeah, I love that. Well done. Good tweeting this week. As always, great stuff. All right. Do you have some questions for me this week?
I sure do. Let's start with a run, pass, or boot. The first question, the Bengals Super Bowl window on this roster wave looks closed. And with Cincinnati not having a championship since 1990, go Eric Davis, prospects look bleak again. RPB on the first team to win a championship, the Bengals, Reds, or any of the Bearcats basketball, Xavier basketball, or Bearcats football. So I think that he's already kind of ruling out the FC Cincinnati Supporters Shield. Some people would claim that as a championship, or the Cyclones winning it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't count. So run, pass, or boot, the first team to win a championship. What are you going with?
You know, this is hard. I will say, and I know people are like not in a great place with the football club right now, but like, it's got to still be the Bengals. You still have the quarterback. Like, you still have the one thing that everybody needs and wants to have in order to win, where even just by dumb luck, it all comes together some year and Joe can take you there. It could even still be this year. And I know that's off the table most likely, but like, I'm just saying that's how great it is to have him and how close you always are with him. Even when everything else is wrong and everyone else has been banished to the Burton slot machine, you still have a chance. That you still are right there. So that's why I am running with the Bengals on that one. I'll take others second. You know, I don't know about if the Tito effect is going to be something. They got a bunch of fun young stars with the Reds, like with Ellie and McLean and Hunter Green. Like that's all great. And maybe Tito brings it all together. Maybe it was the manager the whole time. I don't buy that. They like don't have a TV budget now. MLB takes over, then they just don't have TV money, which is cool. And so that's not great. And you're fighting this big market thing where, oh, look, there's the Yankees and the Dodgers playing in the World Series again. And it's just harder to infiltrate all of that than it is anything else. And then with the others, you see hoops. I'm not saying they're going to go win a championship, but like it's possible. I mean, they're in a great conference. They're improving steadily. They've got some good recruits. You never know. When you get in the NCAA tournament, can be crazy, or Bearcats football could get on a roll or something. I don't know. That feels almost more likely than the Reds toppling the big markets with Tito Francona. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic there, but I am booting them.
I don't know that the Bearcats football should be included in that, but I do like the idea of
they're written on the question. I'm reading them off in the question. I'm concluding them. I'm trying to be inclusive.
12-team playoff now. I feel like the Bearcats football is banished to Reds land, and just the improbability of a championship there. But basketball, I think you're right. That's got to be the second one, because there is so much uncertainty with the NCAA tournament. We've seen bad teams win it all before. Not even bad teams, but not the elite teams. It's not always Duke and, Kentucky and UNC and at the top. It's been UConn a lot lately, but that's been kind of rare. Sometimes you do see a team squeak through that's just gelling at the right time. They're just kind of peaking and getting hot. That could easily be a UC or a Xavier, especially, with the coaches that they have. They could make a run. And I think that does speak more to the Reds and just the situation around Major League Baseball than anything else. And also just how dark Bengals fans are feeling right now, if that's the question that they're putting forth. I mean, you're right. The Bengals are still, as long as Joe Burrow is here, in a much, much better position than the other local teams in terms of being competitive at that highest level.
No question.
Speaking of how dark we are, we've gotten multiple emails about this next topic. And this is not one I saw coming, but I'll just read this first one before we get into it. It starts off, why is Trayveon Williams on the team? Love your show. Listen to all the segments. It's truly therapy during the tough times. And he wondered, it goes on and on. He wondered about the Chase Brown fumble, if it was exhaustion after Herbert fumbled and they didn't use him. And he's like, keep thinking Trayveon Williams has been on this team for 6 years and is still not good enough to get a series or even a carry in a meaningful game. Is that an unfair assessment? Either way, why would we upgrade guys like this over the years rather than let them stick around but not play any meaningful football? I think that's how depth is built. Chris Evans was in the same camp, and we got literally another email about Trayveon Williams. That's just, why is he on the team? All he does is shout at Burton to take a knee on kickoffs. Anybody can do that. It's
an important role.
I don't know why everyone decided to come for Trayveon Williams. If I'm making a list of problems with this team and why they aren't where we thought they would be, I don't know that Trayvion's cracking my top 5.
What I enjoy about these emails and how we get more and more "Why is Trayveon here?" emails is how apologetic when people start talking about him, people end up being like, I feel bad even mentioning this. Like, that's how much he is irrelevant and just not really good. Is like they feel bad even mentioning the fact that he's not really good. Like, it's like, look, it's fine. You can have him here. He seems like a nice guy. He's a professor. He's been around. Like, I have no bad words to say, but why is he here? What would
Why
you
does he
say
have a
you
job?
do here?
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's so I'm with you. He's here because they didn't properly address the position. How's that sound? That's why he's here, because someone has to be. And and so, but we've seen multiple additions have happened in that room lately, and so maybe that changes at some point in the near future. But don't underestimate the need. Somebody needs to tell Jermaine Burton not to bring the ball out rule. I mean, that's anything can happen back there, so that's important.
Yeah, that's not a bad role to have on a team. It's a good way to earn a living too. It's just yelling at a guy to kneel. Our next question is from Tyler. He says, first of all, I love the show. It is without question the best Bengals related podcast out there. Sorry,
There
Jake
you
and
go.
James. I like that. I like the opening with the glowing review of the show.
Yeah, and take direct shots at our competitors. That's
Yeah.
Love you guys.
He wants to know, is anybody ready to move on from Lou Anarumo? What are the thoughts about him in the building? And, it kind of goes along with another question we have here from Daniel. He said that he appreciates that you never tell your audience, Paul, what you would do if you were the Bengals. Instead, you tell us what you think the Bengals will do based on history and what you see and hear in the building. However, times are tough, and I think Bengals fans are concerned with both this year and the future. So he wants to know what you would do this year and the future if you were the one calling the shots now. It's not what you think the Bengals are going to do. Paul Dehner Jr. is in charge. What are you doing for this franchise?
Well, I start by promoting myself into a role that requires no work and a very hefty paycheck, some sort of an assistant to the general manager type of thing. And, mostly just kind of hang out and watch TV, and then pay myself like $5 million, right? That's start there. Number one thing that I would do is employ myself and have Mike write me a check every week.
Good start.
Start there, right? And then now that I'm in the building, okay, look, I think that I would stick with Lou Anarumo through the rest of this season. I think, all you can do is keep working the problem right now. The big fixes, the big picture fixes of what's going on with this defense are too much to handle right now. You talk about dark. It is a deep, dark place trying to figure out how you get this defense back to where you want it to be. And I think you just got to keep working the problem. I think he's got enough knowledge and scheme ability and of what's going on there to get yourself and hang on this season. There's nobody's going to walk in the door right now and be like, oh, we're doing things differently, and all of a sudden things are going to play differently on defense. It's not gonna work. The only chance you have is that Lou just keeps grinding at the problem and gets to some sort of average level. In the big picture, though, for me, like if it were me, the one thing that you can't do, they're just not in a position to do financially or the way they've structured things, is just blow up all the young players and just say, look, Miles Murphy, Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner, Jordan Battle, all of these young guys that they have invested in that are not developing, Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson, whatever, all of these young players that you're not getting enough out of. You can't, they don't have enough money. They're not in a financial position to just throw money at the entire defense and fix this thing. Those players have to get better. There needs to be a connection there. There needs to be some sort of progress made there. And the only way to do that, because you're not going to throw them all out, is to give them a new voice that might have a better chance at connecting with them and developing them. You look in Green Bay, they brought a new coordinator and really saw a lot of success connecting with some new players. The team that they're playing this weekend, the Chargers, new head coach, new defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, who's a really who's probably going to be a head coach soon, comes in and is able to get more out of the players that were there. That's not saying Lou's not still a good coordinator, that he can't still scheme it up, that he can't do all the things that he did successfully here. It's just, to me, when you're trying to get the most out of the young players that you have invested so much of your defensive draft capital into, I think you have to consider that they might just need a new voice to help get it out of them. So that would probably be, if it's me, the move that I would look to, specifically trying to get more out of the young players on defense. I wouldn't go with drastic change. I don't think you need drastic change. But obviously you can't, 2 years of the defense being what it's been, it feels like you just need a new voice there. That's me. That's my opinion. That's what I would do. I would pay myself $5 million and I probably would try to get a new voice for the defense.
And I mean, even if you're going to, this feels like a question, first of all, that we are not quite at yet, right? Like if the season goes south, there's going to be plenty of time to be like, all right, what's the move for the future? Who are the guys we're building around? What other voices might be out there that we should consider bringing in, et cetera. But I do, like at the live show, you had people deliver some takes for the second half of the season and revisit some bad takes that they've had at the beginning. I know we've talked about your Myles Murphy take. I mean, do you want to revisit how many sacks you think he's going to end up with? He's clearly not good enough to get Joseph Osai off the field. Yeah. He gets a handful of snaps now from your former first round pick. I mean, you got to get this guy some playing time eventually, you would assume. So how many sacks is he going to end this season with?
No, I told Lou when we had him on this show, that I had made a very bold take about Myles Murphy and the sacks. And I feel like this is Lou's personal affront on me and the take that I had, and being like, no, I'm not just going to make sure he doesn't hit that number for you to validate you. I'm going to make sure that it's an embarrassing number on the opposite side. Keep that goose egg. I don't understand. I mean, how you can't get Myles Murphy on the field more. It's not just about Osai, whether it's taking some of Sam Hubbard's snaps as well, moving him inside and taking more of those inside snaps from some of your defensive tackles on passing downs. You just feel like you need more of it. I don't get that. I will be walking back my number. Yeah, no doubt. Cause that hasn't quite panned out. But you know what? That it happens though. I still feel like there's a chance for him. Like I still feel like you can see it. And in the small sample sizes that we've seen from him, there have been some good moments. It's just they're just begging for consistency and effort over there. And I don't know. I see a lot of poor effort and a lot of guys that don't get pulled off the field. So what do I know?
What's your number going to be then? You're down from 8 or 7, wherever it was a few games ago, and now down to 3, 4?
The beginning of the year, I was up there, and then I said, well, okay, he's probably basically going to get a half a season of real full play. So I was willing to cut that in half, and now I will cut that again. I think he gets 3. I still think he has a chance, and I would be willing to stay bold. I'm just going to keep, all you do with a bad take is keep doubling down on it and say he ends up with the second most sacks on the team. Now, it might just require him getting to 2. Okay. But I think he at least is tied for or gets the second most sacks on the team before the year's up. I'm not giving up yet. I'm not going to die quietly on this one.
And also, it could just be a scenario where if they don't win some of these weekly must-win games and they do start to play some of the younger guys to give them that chance, maybe that's how he gets up there with his numbers. He finally gets some actual snaps to play and lucks into a couple sacks, making you look like a genius once and for all, salvaging you from your Jets prediction this season and everything else.
If I was in charge and making $5 million, that's what I would do. I would make sure all my takes look good. Okay. Yeah. Just force feed my takes to come to fruition.
That's right. You sit down, you give yourself the $5 million, you do the TV, and then you're like, all right, now let's start working on my takes. This is what the people need. Our next question, dear Paul and Growler team, and this is sort of the tone that we're getting from a lot of these, and we still encourage all your questions, the Growler podcast @gmail.com. And I know there's some that we need to go back and look through. We get pounded with all those Growler Bet emails. So like I'm kind of scrolling through and I'm like, oh, I can see the new episode dropped because you get like 5 people in a row emailing the number 69 with nothing else attached to it. You're like, okay, Must be a new growler bet. It
Talk
is
about
live.
consistency, though. Consistency not happening on defense, very much happening in the Growler Podcast Gmail inbox.
Absolutely.
You guys are there every week dropping those 6-9s.
But there's a few others that were good that we're going to get to later this season. I've got to go crawl back through that inbox. But this is a lot of what we were getting after that Ravens loss. Dear Paul and Growler team, last night's loss was the latest in what I've coined the season of dry heaves.
Wow.
4th and 16 pass interference in Kansas City. Heave. McPherson's overtime miss, followed by the Derrick Henry 50-yard run. Double heave. Jaden Daniels' dime to Terry McLaurin on Monday night. Heave. Waking up this morning, abdominal muscle still burning. I was curious whether last night was a glimpse into what a post-T. Higgins offense will have to look like to be successful. And more specifically, could part of fixing the team be taking every penny they were willing to give T for an extension and next season put it towards making the defense at least serviceable against a quality opponent? Thanks for everything you're doing to keep the Heaves at bay. It's not working, but it's hardly your fault.
You know, that's a lot of heaves.
A lot of heaves.
You know, we talked about the NFL Films videos and how they give them always have that good name to it, you know, of a bad season, fighting to the end. I don't know if the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals, the season of dry heaves, is going to catch on or the NFL Films people will want to go with it. But I like where your head's at. You know, there's a lot of creativity here, and I think it's pretty visceral image for anybody that's ever had to participate in that. I think the T. Higgins offense, the T. Higgins-less offense going forward, that's not a bad glimpse at what it could look like, right? I thought the offense was pretty impressive. 264 and 3 touchdowns was pretty amazing, and I think Jamar's proven himself capable of being that guy. And I have a very long, in-depth story up on The Athletic now about how they have grown his role and found out that it can just keep growing. Like, there is no limit to what you can ask Jamar Chase to do, and he keeps doing it and keeping defenses off balance by asking him to do more. I think that can continue. I think that can always be your centerpiece. Now, maybe there's a T. Higgins-less world where you're drafting a receiver at number 38 next year, or number 11 overall, or wherever you end up picking, or you spend $9 million on a mid-tier number 2 that's available in free agency to augment whatever that is. Like, when you have Jamar doing everything that they've shown that he can do and doing things like he did against Baltimore, it can still go, and you hope that you just keep swinging. You got to keep taking swings at receivers, keep drafting them, multiple draft picks every year, and they'll hit. Like, they will. They do. Look around the league. Like, just keep taking swings at that position and you'll find people that can they give you T. Higgins? I don't know, but they'll give you different versions. And, just look at what's happening in the league right now. Like, there's lots of young rookie receivers giving big time contributions. It can happen very fast.
And I feel like that's one of the things that they're sort of masking, is the fact that, like, Burrow and Chase have been so good that there is a pretty significant drop off right now with T. Higgins off the field, right? So, like, Burton obviously hasn't been able to give you what you would have hoped for a 3rd round receiver would give you. And Yossi Vash, who everybody loved as the fantasy football sleeper, has not been able to clearly establish himself as a meaningful participant in this offense on a regular basis. He's stepped up with a few big catches here and there. He's been good in the red zone, good off script, but, like, not a reliable every down guy. But if you did have a solid, not even like a T. Higgins level, but a solid number 2 with what Jamar Chase is giving you right now, and Mike Gesicki's giving, like, that's a pretty strong offense. Upgrade maybe one of the guards, a little bit of the interior offensive line, so Joe Burrow's not getting hit 13 times, and all of a sudden that's an offense that's going to be pretty great as long as you just upgrade those second receiver spots just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of tinkering and things like that. But you have 2 tackles that are solid and signed for the long term. You have a franchise quarterback. You have an elite number 1 wide receiver. You can build around the rest fairly easily. And I'm not making it sound like it's simple, but those are the hard parts. Like, those 4 positions are the hard parts. and you have those. And so building around the rest just requires a solid off season, and we haven't had enough of those, but I have enough faith that when you have those four, you can do plenty to keep up. All right. Before we move on, I do want to talk to you guys. If you want to keep the excitement going on game day, grab Catan Starfarers. Bring some extra competition to your football Sundays. While the Bengals are driving on the field, you and your crew can build, trade, and outwit each other in the ultimate game of strategy. Whether it's during halftime or post-game, Catan is the perfect time to reflect on the latest victory and keep the excitement of competition with friends and family. Visit CatanShop.com and use the coupon code GROWLER to get 10% discount on Catan for a limited time only. All right. Do we have any ambushes? Are you ambushing me with anything today, Mark?
We do. This is a little bit about, I guess it applies to both of our jobs. This is from Brian. He says, you guys both travel a lot for work. How do you keep a healthy cadence of communication with your wife and kids when you're gone? He says he struggles to do this, especially with a 2 to 3 hour time change. He says, over the years, my wife has adjusted to the times I just go dark. Is this what happens for you, or is there a system in place? And then he also gives a shout out to your better half and mentioned some strays that she caught in the preseason. I don't necessarily remember those. I guess we did have that one ambush question where somebody was like, what do you dislike about your wife? Remember that? They were trying to get you to like, yeah.
Yeah. No, there were a couple. There were a couple in there where it felt like what's happening? Are you asking me to just take shots at my family? I'm not totally sure. Yeah, that happened.
So this is lots of positivity around her and how she's a delightful person. So there's that. But how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the communication while you're gone?
Well, first of all, thanks for saying nice things about my wife. She deserves all of it. You deal with it by, having a better half that is the best, right? Because like it's just hard. Like they have to take everything. You know how it is. Like when you're gone, like there's just being single parent for long periods of time. When you're gone for 2-3 days, weeks, whatever, it's just it drains you. And by the end of the season, it's insane. It's insane. There's nothing that anybody can do about it. It's just the nature of this time of year. I mean, I FaceTime. I try to FaceTime from the stadiums or from cool places that I'm at, so they can see whatever. Hey, here I am. Here's big buildings or the ocean or the stadium or the lights or whatever. And I will take stuffed animals with me on the road, which sounds weird. Like they'll have them pick one and then give it to me, so they feel like their little stuffies from their life are traveling the world with me as well. And we kind of have those, and they see where they're at and where I've put them or whatever. Like it's weird, dumb stuff, but like it keeps them feeling a little connected to you, even though you're gone. So there's no easy, like to me, it's no easy. It's the hardest part of this job. And it's why my view on it has changed dramatically from when I first started doing it. I mean, I was you every trip, every possible place you could go, like we need to go there, need to be this, that. Like I feel it's just different now as a parent, and you know how much strain it puts on the house when you're not there. I dread the trips, the long ones, a little bit more than I get excited by them, because it's just it's hard. It's hard on the flip side, but no, thankfully, no, Megan is amazing and holds it down this time of year like no other, and so that's the saving grace for me.
That makes sense. I mean, I'm sort of in the same boat, and I feel like the communication with the kids that's not the hard part. Like you can do the FaceTimes. I have a lot of free time during the days when I'm traveling for stand-up. So like that's easy to kind of work into their schedule, and so they can see you. The FaceTime, that makes it so much easier for our generation than, 15, 20 years ago when it was just on the phone. They couldn't see you. They couldn't see the cool places, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it is having like the wife that can hold down the fort. Mine does an awesome job. And it is a mental toll, especially packing all the school lunches, doing all the bedtimes, getting everybody to the practices and everywhere they need to go, and getting this kid to this game, this girl to Girl Scouts, and all that kind of stuff. That is where it really adds up for somebody. And it's hard, man. Like the first day I leave for any trip is always the hardest. And you're like, God, this really sucks. This is the part that is hard about it. And you go and you do the shows. The shows are fun, or going to a new city is fun. And but yeah, it's never easy to have to travel, especially when your kids are younger and there are certain things you miss out on. You know, I've tried to be local for like birthdays and all those big things, but there's still going to be things that you miss, whether it's a basketball game or a concert or something. And those are the days that kind of hit you the hardest.
Yeah, it's always going with the moment I have to tell them when I will see them again is always the one that's the hardest. So like, well, so I guess next time I see you will be when I pick you up from the school on Monday.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It's like that's the hard one for both sides, I think.
So on that same vein, let's get into a road trip preview and talk about LA. Some great LA. What are your LA reps?
LA trip. So I don't have a ton of LA experience. It's been one of the cities that when I've gone out to California, I've skipped over. But did spend a week there during Super Bowl week, mostly in the hotel. Because of the COVID times, which was just great. It was really cool to cover Super Bowl from your hotel room. But remember, we talked about this when we talked about road trips when the schedule first came out. The Stingles. If you were a Bengals and Sting fan, this was the season for you. He was playing in New York when we were there just last month, and now he's playing again in LA this weekend. So all you Stingles out there, the opportunity is there to do it. Nebraska at USC at the Coliseum is 1:00 on Saturday. I think I'm going to take in that tilt. I've never been to the Coliseum. Would love to go check out the Coliseum, see a USC game there. Just, I don't know, just feels like a good way to spend an afternoon on a nice California day. Let's go. So that's happening. I think Santa Monica is going to be a spot to be hanging out for dinner and some beach time probably at some point. But if you have ideas, send them to me. Anything else we can do? I do have a full day on Saturday to kill out there. I land super early. So if you have any ideas of great things to do, I'm staying by the airport because I have an early flight out on Monday after the night game. But I'm willing to go anywhere minus like fighting all the traffic all the time.
Yeah, the traffic's always a bummer. I too don't have a ton of LA experience. I've been out there once and it was to go to a party at the Playboy Mansion. So that's my rec for you, Paul. Just hit up the Playboy Mansion and have a good time out there. It's the best. That's what I got.
I'll do that. We've talked about this before and I've always wondered like if it still exists.
I don't even know.
I'm sure they take it down. I'm sure somebody owns it, but it's not like public.
Yeah, they're probably not throwing parties.
Playboy bunnies anymore. I don't know even how any of that works.
It had a good run, but nothing lasts forever.
No.
What was the Growler bet this week? What's the
Growler bet this week? Get your submissions into the growlerpodcast@gmail.com. Jamar Chase receiving yards we're going with this week. So send us in your Jamar Chase receiving yards in this game. Of course, coming off 264 last week, but going against the number one defense in football. Where do Jamar Chase's receiving yards land? T. Higgins potentially coming back. A lot of variables in there. The number could be just about anywhere, but we have a nation bar bill at one of our live shows that could be yours if you can hit the number on the head to send those in.
Do that. In my world, I am back on the road for stand-up comedy. So come out to a show. I'm at tonight is Memorial Hall downtown. That's sold out. So you can't come to that. But if you want to come see me in Lancaster, Ohio, I'll be there Saturday at the Mill Event Center. And then next week I'm at Williamsburg, Virginia. So that's two weeks in a row where people are pretending to live in the 1700s. And Columbus Funny Bone, Saturday the 23rd. That is opening for Greg Warren's special taping for Nateland. And then I will be at the big one is Go Bananas Comedy Club, December 5th through 8th. So all you Cincy Growl pals can come to that one. Those are going to be some really fun shows. So come out to those.
Now, sometime in the future, we're going to be able to see you on Nateland, right?
That's true. I did a set.
What was that deal?
I got the call to go down to Nashville and shoot a set for Nate's production company down there. If you're not familiar, Nate Bargatze, I mean, most people are on board with Nate by this point, but he's the biggest stand-up working currently. He just hosted SNL for the second time, and his production company has started releasing specials. And I know they do a few podcasts as well. Nate's and a couple others. No football podcasts, so no direct heat or beef from us. So we're fine with their empire.
Yeah, we're good with them.
Okay. But they are also doing a new showcase show where they're kind of presenting some comics people might not know about, doing like 10 to 12-minute sets. So I went down there and filmed one of those, and that'll be coming out sometime in the next month or two. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah, no, congrats on that. That's a nice gig. I mean, Nate is. I went to his show here in Cincinnati, and it was, I mean, just crushed the entire arena. Which actually, I think we all would love to see that arena get crushed and be taken down. But he, from the inside, had people laughing. It's like just awesome. So he's hysterical, and man, they're doing big old things down there. So I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, they're good people, and always appreciate when people like that are going to go to bat for you in the industry. So huge thanks to the whole Nate Lane crew.
And I'll be down at the Memorial Hall show tonight. I'm excited to go see you, Josh Sneed, doing the special. It's going to be great. I'll be down there. Looking forward.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one. And maybe you could just resell your tickets since it's sold out, and highest Growl Pal offer wins. You can make yourself a nice little amount of money on that. Maybe.
I will not do that.
Dad life this week. My daughter's friends have started Googling me. Have you had this at all with your kids? Where like the friends are like, "Oh, what is your dad?" And like, because it's easy to find us online. And so my daughter's third grade classmate started like Googling me and like subscribed to my YouTube, which I don't even update as much as my Instagram and official comedy Facebook page. But like, so that it was like neat for my daughter at first because her friend was so impressed. It's like, wow, what a cool job. And it took like a week and a half for her to be like, nobody watches your dad on YouTube. And it's like, I want to tell her, like, you go tell your friend to go on Instagram. There are multiple clips from my last special that got over 2 million views. That's where my traffic is. So I'm just in a fight with a third grader about my career. And it doesn't help that everything in comedy sounds absurd. Like, oh, you go tell her that I just performed at a prestigious comedy festival called Skank Fest. It's not helping you too much. And so it's also like, all right, well, what does her dad do? I bet I have more views than her dad. Oh, he's a cop? Okay. His videos have more views. So can't beat him.
Can't beat him. No, can't beat him. I have you did a dad life about the zoo not too long ago.
That's right.
And just being able to get in. And I thought of you because I took my youngest daughter to the zoo last weekend, and I was looking down and I was like, oh, I never renewed this. It says it's expired. And I was like, wait, no, Mark told me all about this, about how they just let you in. It doesn't matter. Like they don't ever update that on your phone. It just shows up. So went in there, but we saw one of the craziest things I've seen at the zoo. Now if you've been there, like, and you're there with your kids, sometimes you'll hear the howler monkeys, or you'll hear like, the gibbons. Like you'll hear them from all the way across the zoo or outside the zoo. I have never heard them this loud. This was one gibbon, okay, was on he's on the little like bamboo construction that they have around the island, and there are just people there are so many people that have come over just because they're hearing him, and that made it worse. Like it only brought more. I think he was legitimately angry at all of us. He was just standing there, puffing his chest out and just doing these super loud gibbon sounds with this really angry eyes, looking up and down the whole line of people like, stop looking at me. I've never felt more guilty. I was like, I think we should walk away. I don't think we should just sit here and watch him do this. I think he's really having a bit of a fit. I think sometime he should have been, he should have been banished to the Burton slot machine is what we should have done with
him.
Let
him cool down a little bit.
It's the only time, like, now I know some things have happened at the zoo, but it's the only time I've felt personally a little concerned about us being there. It was a very, very aggressive gibbon moment, and we were all just taking it in like it was cool, and I was a little more concerned for his well-being.
Yeah, he's having a mental health crisis, and everyone's like, wow, look at him make noises. Cool.
I've never seen a gibbon have a mental health crisis before. This will be great.
He hates his job, like the zoo is his job, just to perform for everybody. But yeah, I don't know how you even improve the mental health of a gibbon. Give him some time at the slot machine, maybe let him listen to a few episodes of the Growler podcast.
Yeah.
Get some different things into his, entertainment diet. That could help the gibbon and his mental health.
I feel like that's it. Like you just see him over there with like some noise canceling headphones on, just chilling in the corner. Be like, what kind of music do Gibbons listen to? Or someone's gonna come do a study on it. Oh, I don't know. Loves the Growler. Big fan.
He wants to know what they're going to do about next season. How do they fix this defense? They're already spending a lot of money and it's not working.
He loves Mark's tweets. Oh man. All right. Enjoy the show tonight. Have a great show tonight. And of course, enjoy Lancaster. People get out there, go check out Mark. And I will be in Los Angeles. Jay and I will be back with the walkout overnight after the game on Sunday nights. That'll be waiting on you in the mornings when you wake up, and we'll see how you wake up, what kind of a heave you're feeling that you had maybe the night before. I mean, hopefully heaveless.
Yeah,
for everyone's sake.
Heaveless. Hopefully no one's at the slot machine next week.
The bye week is upon us, though, coming around the corner. We'll have lots more to say about that. And, of course, the live show on the 21st, Todd Frazier, my favorite game, the 2015 Home Run Derby, 7 o'clock on the 21st. Make sure you come down and check us out down there at BetMGM Nation Kitchen and Bar at the Banks. All right, thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll talk to you next time.